The idea of reparations for Black Americans to address historical discrimination is not a new concept, but it hasn't been met without controversy.
At the federal level, legislation was introduced decades ago to explore the issue, but that has since stalled. However, during the pandemic, state and local governments began breathing some new life into the movement, and that includes right here in Detroit.
7 Action News reporter Amira David spoke with a lifelong Detroiter and a historian about the argument that you don't have to go back as far as slavery to understand why a debt is owed.
For Shoshana Shakur, driving through Detroit feels like a drive through her family's storied past.
My grandfather came from Coffeyville, Kansas.
Her grandfather, Lucian, was a bricklayer who helped construct projects like the Fisher Building and Davison Freeway. Her mother's cousin was the great boxing champ Joe Louis. In the book of her past are pages full of pride, but also of pain. Her grandfather, never entitled to equal pay for equal work.
He was not allowed to get a license and become a skilled craftsman because he was Black.
While her mother's family, like thousands of others migrating from the South, had to contend with crippling housing discrimination. Perhaps nothing more notable than what Black Detroiters experienced in the first half of the 20th century, navigating segregation and racist policies that barred them from living in most neighborhoods.
The policies that were in place were pushing all Black Detroiters into one community.
Yeah, it was concentrating the largest amount of African Americans into one area.
That area, known as Black Bottom, once home to Shoshana's mother and more than 100,000 others.
This is the center of African American activity.
Historian Jamon Jordan says in many ways it was thriving with Black-run businesses, schools, and churches. But by the early 1950s, a plan was well underway to demolish the 3-square-mile neighborhood to make way for construction of Interstate 375. Black renters were evicted. Black homeowners unjustly compensated.
To what extent did that upend generational wealth?
Yeah, it severely impacted it because this neighborhood is the feeder for a Black business and entertainment district north of here known as Paradise Valley.
Shoshana shows me what's left of the street her mother grew up on.
What do you think about when you drive through this neighborhood? Do you think about what could have been?
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's sad that it didn't grow.
Detroit, like many cities across the country, is studying how to best make amends for its prejudiced past. The toll of slavery has long been central to the movement, but the discourse has expanded.
Today we have more in the arsenal to discuss this issue besides just slavery, but all of the other racist policies that have created a wealth gap, a social gap, an institutional gap.
Black people in this country have suffered.
And the proof is in the numbers. A 2019 Federal Reserve survey showing white families in the U.S. have on average 8 times the wealth of Black families, a gap that many Detroiters believe America should and could close with economic reparations.
Reparations is a righteous movement, and it ought to happen.
With calls for it to take on several different forms.
Land, education, technology, and also monetary.
Because while it's understood history cannot be rewritten, the future is a blank page. In Detroit, Amira David, 7 Action News.
Last November, Detroiters voted yes on a proposal to launch a reparations commission that would examine how to best address historical discrimination. The group, when formed, is expected to recommend housing and economic development programs that benefit Black Detroiters.